Hello, welcome to the Meet the Speaker studio. I'm here today with our first guest of the day, Lucy. So, hi Lucy, how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
Good, perfect. So I'm assuming this is our first interview from here. I'm assuming it sounds okay and everything's working fine and all the technical stuff is going and we're happy and we can hear Lucy okay?
Hopefully.
Yeah, happy, Chris? Yeah, we have a nod from behind the desk, so everything is fine. So, Lucy, you're here at the Care Shows today. Why are you here? What are you speaking about today?
Oh, I'm on a few panels and I'm also speaking tomorrow about what keeps people awake at night. So it's a different session. I'm not really presenting. I'm giving a space where people can bring along their problems and I'm going to help them find the solutions because I believe that we have the resources as people to be able to find the solutions to our problems. So that's what we're going to do, a bit of a different session.
Lovely, okay. So should we talk, rather than talking about problems then, should we talk about some solutions then? What's a typical solution you give to someone for a typical problem they come to you with?
Start with you.
Yeah.
Because if we as people or as leaders aren't in a good place, then the people that we work with or that follow us or follow our lead, they won't be. So control you and you'll influence other people or other things, other situations, whether that be team members, whether that be external professionals, whether that be relatives or family, or even the people you care for. If you control you, your thoughts, your feelings, your wants and needs, then you'll influence others.
Yeah, I always think that's a really important learning piece for people, isn't it? Where as they start to step through the sort of traditional levels within any kind of organisation, that suddenly it becomes less about you and more about like kind of the people around you. So you've got to look inside and say, right, why do I react the way I react to that thing? What's triggering me in there that makes me annoyed or upset? How do I look at how I feel about a situation to make sure that I'm reacting in the way that's going to bring the best outcome for everybody here?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's key. It's interesting you say react, and I think that's what people do a lot. And I think it's important that if people work on themselves, they can learn to respond and respond from a place of not being stressed, not feeling sad, not feeling fearful. So say for example the inspector calls and people are immediately fearful. Well, what actually if you came from a place of being excited because you want to show how fabulous you are and you want to demonstrate the really good stuff that you do? Because if you're fearful, the people you care for will pick up on it, their behaviour will then change and then you will respond differently to them and your result might not be so good.
Yeah, most people are no good at hiding the emotion they're feeling in the moment, and I think especially as someone who's leading people, you need to be able to temper that. And I think it's that idea of it's not just about shoving it down, is it? It's about actually dealing with that yourself and saying, okay, how do I get to a position where X happens and I don't react like this because I've worked out that context in between. I always say, I think context is really important in people's lives, so understanding what's going on in people's lives, so you can understand, well, maybe this person's reacting like this because of this thing that they've got going on. So I think
absolutely. And I mean, for me, fundamentally, I don't believe people are their behaviours. There's a reason for why people do what they do. You might have to dig around a bit to find it. And it's about being able to, what I would say, be at cause. So you take responsibility for where you're at, the situation, and then you can decide which way that you're going to move forward, rather than being at effect of something. So if somebody spills milk, rather than you getting upset that there's no milk, you say, well, how do I find more milk? Who's going to clean the milk up? And it's a way of being able to go, okay, this is what I feel, but how do I need to manage my emotions rather than dismissing them, working through them, and then being able to do what I need to do based on a centered place rather than an emotion-driven place.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, especially when you've got young children and the milk gets spilt, most people, there is that instant reaction, isn't there? And saying, okay, that reaction is completely disproportionate to what happens. And probably when you think about that, you recognise that that is the case, but that still happens. So how do you just need to walk away for 10 seconds and come back So you can just chew through that in your own head before you snap at your child for spilling the milk, because they spill the milk, right?
Absolutely.
They do.
Things happen, you just get them up out the cupboard.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to understand the implications. So on that scenario, you shout at the child, the implications for the child being shouted at are far greater than any damage that the milk could have caused. You know, things sort. And in a sector where we need to take responsibility for where we're at and just understand that we can learn when things go wrong and go, actually, do you know what, it went wrong, but this is what we're going to do instead. That's important. And it's important then, it'll help you not to blame. Because blame doesn't achieve anything. It doesn't create a place where you can change from, and it doesn't create any kind of responsibility. And we all know we need to be responsible, and we are held accountable for things that happen.
Talking about the inspector then, so the inspector calls, and there is, I think the CQC are here today, or they might be, I can't remember, I've not seen their stand, they normally do come to these events. Often you do discover that a CQC inspector is actually a human being. So how would you help someone work through that idea that there's a fear behind? I remember very clearly with my wife, and she had a nursery, and she was terrified of Buxton, and it created all sorts of stomach itch. Oh my god, knots in her stomach, would be terrified of it. But ultimately, that's not a good place to be when they arrive. So how do you help someone work through something like that? What advice would you give to a manager who's knows it's imminent? How would you do it? Do you put a nice picture of a CQC inspector up on the wall and I love you? Give it.
Well, there's lots of things that people can do, really simple things. I think, first of all, you need to prepare. You need to know what you need to know. So you need to know the system. You need to know your regulations. You need to know what you're doing, what's good about your service and what is not so good about your service. You need to know where the warts are and what you're doing about that. So there's that practical element of the day-to-day business side of things. But there's also the element of you again as a person. So if you know you are fearful of the inspector, you have to ask yourself, why? Why am I fearful of another human being that just has a different job title? And I would suggest that as an individual, you need to work out what that is and to deal with it. If we go through a lot of events in our lives, or we go through things in our life that are fearful, or we feel fear, if we don't process the emotion or give ourselves time to feel the emotion, we will just store it, our brains store it. And then when we have the next moment where we feel fear, it's incredibly big and out of proportion. And I don't need to be fearful of a CQC inspector or, another inspector. It's about understanding that they're coming to do a job, but that fear is about, it's in me, I need to work out why. Was it because teachers weren't nice to me at school? Was it because, or is it because I've been told by my employer, if you don't get a good rating, you'll lose your job? So it's about understanding where that comes from and to deal with it and to work through that fear, because it's not nice to live with fear. And
that might be a practical reality for many managers who think, right, okay, my job is on the line here if I don't get this right. But I suppose putting yourself in a constant state of fear, you're not going to be working to the best of your ability, are you? You're stretching yourself.
And that reality, living in a fear reality, all you will be doing is looking at things from a point of fear and it going wrong. You won't then encourage or empower people to explore their own abilities and strengths. And fundamentally, it'll affect your own health, your physical and your mental well-being, and it won't achieve anything. So if you are fearful about something, then find out why. It's the same as if you're sad about something. If you're angry, ask yourself why, find out why, and then deal with it. You might be able to deal with it on your own. You might not. It might be that it's something simple that you just need to learn a process or routine for when the inspector comes and that they're at the door, that you take them, put them in a room, arrange for them to have tea and coffee, and you go and sit in your office and have 5 minutes out.
Have the first 10 minutes planned out in your head, because you do have some control over how that person comes in. And I own a coffee shop, and we've got a food hygiene inspection coming up soon, and it doesn't touch what the impact of what a business has in terms of in the care sector. But just preparing the teams, be nice to them, make them a coffee. That first impression is really important about how how warm it feels. And I think, you know,
Yeah.
and maybe that manager, for example, could go and speak to the owner and say, look, you know, I'm really stressed out about this. If I don't get it, what happens? Because you might be imagining that manager would let you go if you get requires improvement, but they might not. They might not be thinking in that term. So it might be worth clarifying with the powers that be to check.
And if you are living in this fear kind of reality, your brain will be telling you stuff that isn't true.
Yeah.
So it's important to check stuff out. This morning I was stuck on the traffic on the motorway and I was thinking, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late. But I said to myself, oh well, if I'm late, it doesn't matter. I need to get here and that's what matters. And it's about being able to alter the way that you see things, the way you perceive things, and the way that you talk to yourself about things, so that your reality changes.
Yeah. It seems like such a simple thing, doesn't it? Negative self-talk, and that we all do it. And when you actually say to people, this really does make a difference to how you think. If you say in your own head, this is bad, I'm a failure, I failed at this, it makes it worse, right? It does,
yeah. No, absolutely. You know, you could say it's something like a mirror principle, kind of what you put out there, you'll get back. So the more I look of lack, the more I find lack.
Yeah.
The more I say to myself, somebody said to me the other day, I feel sick in the morning, and the more I concentrate on not feeling sick, the more I feel sick. So because you're concentrating on feeling sick. So when you concentrate on something completely removed and different, you just won't notice you feel sick.
Every morning I look in the mirror and I say, I am strong, I am beautiful. That's what I do.
You see, the thing is, York, is that for you, we know this is true. So standing in front of a mirror and saying an affirmation, your brain will get that. But you can stand in front of the mirror and say, I'm strong, I am beautiful, I am York. But if you don't believe that, it means nothing. Because if inside you're going, actually, that's not true, then you're lying to yourself. So it's important that, yes, you stand there and go, actually, I'm good.
Yeah, it really just reminded me of that scene from Cool Runnings.
Okay.
Are you familiar with that film?
Do you know what? I am, but my brain and remembering things.
Well, so there's that scene where there's the character in it who isn't confident, and his dad doesn't want him to be on the team. And there's a moment where he's looking in the mirror and his friend is hyping him up, and you can see the moment in which he changes in his own head, saying the affirmation and believing the affirmation, and that, you know, that powerful moment. So I don't know why it reminded me of Cool Runnings, of all the things that would pop into your brain, a 90s movie. There you go.
Yeah, but you see, I guess it's that's the point, isn't it? Is your brain is always listening. And your brain will give you the information that you need, and it's just giving you a really good example that people will be able to relate to because they understand the film, they'll have seen the film, so they'll be able to go, oh, okay, I get it now.
Lovely.
Interesting.
Anything else you'd like to tell us about today?
Well, it would appear to be a bigger show, so I'm interested to find out who's new and to go and meet friends and meet colleagues. And I just think it's great that people can come out. I know there's people coming here that have never been to the show before, which I think is lovely. I'm just excited to see what the next 2 days have got in store.
Perfect. Thank you for coming, Lucy.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to see you. So thanks very much to Lucy there. We will head back out.